we had kids that were willing to work, willing to get in the gym and get better. Very fortunate there. Excellent parents, a lot of support. Coaching staff was always great. Two of them are here today, longtime coaches, and I've never referred to them as assistants. I haven't said that word regarding them ever, and try not to, because they were always co-coaches. We wanted our players to understand it doesn't matter who's here. Your job is to work, and that's what we want you to do. And as Steve mentioned, you want to have fun. Please have fun while you're here, because it's the greatest game ever. And I want to introduce them, Don Carlson, who was a Filbert 5 earlier this fall, named as one of the Filbert 5 with at the Hall of Fame dinner, and also Greg Harding. And they were, as I said, co-coaches. And the thread here, obviously, is, be good players, family, team, things like that. So true here, and while Coach Davis was talking a minute ago about, growing up in his family, you went out to eat after the game was a big deal, and I had to write this down because I kind of forgotten until he brought it up today, but I believe Donnie's, one of his two daughters, Natalie and Christy, I think Christy was the one that said this, because we would do the same thing. After a game, we would go out to eat, the entire staff, and my parents, and so forth, and Shaylee, and so we, and Connor when he was just little. But I remember Christy, I think, was the one that coined this. She said one time, we win, we feast, we lose, we starve. And Christy was about 6. Christy was very honest. Christy had it figured out, And you always want to make winning feel as good as losing feels bad, and that's one of the things coaches have trouble with. Losses just devastate you, and wins are kind of expected, and I think anybody that can enjoy a win as much as they don't like a loss is just much, much better off. Very fortunate to be coaching where I was in Glendale and also in Southwest Missouri. A couple of quick stories to tell you how good it is, and Missouri is great. Do not get me wrong. I've lived here all my life. I think in this area, I've heard people refer to this as well. We've got a little piece of Indiana and Kentucky, in Southwest Missouri, and I'm going to beg to differ a little bit. I think that Southwest Missouri, maybe Indiana and Kentucky, have a little piece of us, because I've seen the crowds at the tournaments. I've coached in the games. I've watched other teams play. I've seen the colleges, and I know what kind of support the game has. And I've always said the NBA is about players, and college is about coaches, and high school is about the game. And I think here the game is appreciated at a very high level. Bud Laker, who I believe was an initial inductee into the Missouri Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame, made the comment one time that everything should be in Springfield. Everything should be in Springfield. He said they'll draw a crowd with two guys playing one-on-one under a street light without a goal. And I got to tell you, that's right. It's kind of like that. One year, and I think this was probably in the early 90s, and all the coaches will remember this, there was a group that started, it was kind of a national shooting thing, and it was called Shot Doctor. And I got a call from a guy, and he said, listen, I understand, would you like to do this sometime? And I said, sure. And I said, how about the first week in August? And he said, okay. So the first week in August, a guy comes in who was a high school coach in Indiana, and great reputation and highly thought of, and he comes in and he says, we'll put on the clinic. We went from 8 to 11 and 1 to 4. And it's about 100 degrees. We have no air conditioning in the school. And it was about 100 degrees. And every day that week, Monday through Friday, from 11 to 1, we had between 26 and 31 players in our gym, an open gym, from 11 to 1. And he said, they were there playing, and he said, I got to tell you, he said, this wouldn't happen in Indiana. He said, the coaches are playing golf or fishing, and the players are at the swimming pool. He said, I am amazed. He said, this is unbelievable. I said, it's like this all the time right here. I mean, not only our place, but it happened all throughout this area. And I knew right then, this area was